each.
Mike Check 1 2, what to do? Welcome back to the Mike Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thank you for tapping in. Today we're talking about the Colorado Buffaloes and their recent victory in a thrilling double overtime game. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate your feedback. All right, guys. So the Colorado Buffaloes had a homestand against the Colorado State Rams, and this was a really good game. Double overtime. Colorado wins 43-35, and early on, things were very shaky for the Buffaloes. And before we get into the specifics of the game, the first thing we want to address is before the game, there were some things that were coming out in the media from Colorado State coach, CSU coach Jay Norvell. He basically kind of took a couple digs at Deion Sanders, which Deion also took as a dig at his mother. Coach Norvell did say that he believed that you should take your hat off and take your shades off when you're talking to the media and stuff like that. And he kind of just implied that Coach Prime wasn't raised right. So Deion took it personal, of course, because he's kind of like that. And he used it as a launch pad for bulletin board material for his team. And then he turned around and launched some shades, some prime shades, which somebody contacted him during the week. Was like, yo, we got these shades. He's talking about your shades. Let's do a deal. And all of a sudden he's handing out shades on College game day. So that was a big storyline in the few days right before the game. Also, you had other big news. Their day started really early on Saturday because you got to think, Colorado, when the pregame show starts at 10 Central Time, it's like 8 or 9 o'clock in Colorado at this time of year. So these guys started their day probably at 7 to get ready to be there. And then this game didn't end until 11 o'clock their time. So that's a long day. I don't know what their in-between activities were, but you had College game day in the building. And then you also had big noon kickoff for Fox. This is the first time both of them have been in the same place. And Fox didn't even host the game on their channel, but yet they were there. So this just tells you the prime effect is really just carrying into different aspects of what the University of Colorado or Colorado University is going through. All of this, and the game hadn't even started yet. So this is a late kickoff. It was 9 o'clock Central Time, so 7 o'clock for them. And the players look like they were kind of ready to go. CSU came prepared to play, and early on, they really held serve. They went into halftime up 21-14, and this was bolstered by two defensive touchdowns. One for Colorado, Shilo Sanders picked off a pass, took it 80 yards for a TD, and then Colorado State recovered a fumble, and they took it to the house for 45 yards. So that's 7-7 right there. So defense definitely played a part, but it turned out not to be the difference in the game. Again, going into the half up 21-14, Colorado State seemed in control for much of the game. And then you get into the fourth quarter, and Colorado starts to make their move. Third quarter, nobody scores. It's just a stalemate. So Colorado's held scoreless for 2 quarters in a row. Second and third quarter, no points. Fourth quarter, they get 14. Colorado State gets 7. So now the game is tied up going into OT. And at 28-28, that final touchdown that made the Tide score, you saw the attrition start to set in where Colorado's just, in my opinion, deeper. And I think that they had more playmakers. And keep in mind, they were a 20-something point favorite. So to be trying to tie the game that late and then have to go for 2 is big for Colorado State. That means that they did not allow the allure and the attention and all the pageantry of this game stop them from being who they are, which is a damn football team. And you got to give credit to the coach for having them ready. He had them mentally psyched up, and maybe it worked. Maybe going at prime and showing, well, I ain't scared of him, so y'all don't need to be scared of them. I think that part is probably what kind of carried them. And then, of course, this is, a school in the P5 conference. Like, they came to play damn football, and they did that. Shedeur Sanders, though, he kind of took control late. His receivers started to get open. I think Colorado State's defense made some adjustments that actually bit them in the butt, and it really made a difference down the stretch because they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Let's look at some stats overall. Total yards, CSU actually had 499 to 418 for Colorado. Passing yards, 397 to 348. And this wasn't like a crazy like a bunch of big plays. Colorado didn't give up a bunch of big plays. What they did allow is crossing routes to destroy them, and it's almost as if they conceded it and they never decided to adjust to what was happening in front of them. And Colorado State took advantage, and their receiver number 14, he had a day. And he just ate him up. He made some tough catches. He wasn't just open all the time. He made a couple tough catches in tight windows. Horton is his last name. He even threw for a touchdown. So that just kind of tells you just what kind of day this dude has. Let me see. He finished the day with 16 catches, 133 yards, and TD. Then the other receiver, Brown, had 10 catches on 131 yards, 1 TD. And then Holker, I believe, is their tight end, 6 catches, 109 yards, 2 TDs. So these guys really ate through the air. On the Colorado side, Shedeur Sanders, 38 of 47, 348, 4 TDs, 1 pick. So he had his first turnover of the year, and he came into the game with 6 passing TDs, 1 rushing. So 7 TDs plus the 4. That now adds up to 11 to 1. So his TD to turnover ratio is ridiculous. In the run game, Dylan Edwards didn't quite have the success he'd been having. 10 rushes, 57 yards. Receiving, Xavier Weaver, he wears number 10. 9 catches, 98 yards in the TD. Harrison, the tight end, 7 catches, 76 yards, 2 TDs. One was in OT, a big one, the one that won the game. And then Jimmy Horn Jr., 7 catches, 66 yards in the TD. And Dawson, 5 catches, 60 yards. So let's talk about Jimmy Horn. He and Harrison both got penalties on the drive that pushed the game into OT. And in my head, I'm thinking, Jimmy Horn's going to be the one that makes the play that puts this game in Colorado's hands. And then he turned right around and made a play, scored, and then Harrison got the 2-point conversion. So that's what you call instant redemption right there. So that was a big deal for them. Shedeur's getting beat up as far as the offensive line go. They're going to have to figure that part out. I mean, this team is good, but there's going to be teams that are much better than them in the trenches, and that's where some of these issues that they have are going to show up. And they can't allow anybody with crossers because a team like Oregon is going to try to eat in that area of the field. But overall, this was a really big game, really good game. Final drive for Colorado State in OT. The Buffaloes came up with an interception to end the game, and the fans stormed the field, and I think they're going to probably do that every time they play at home and win. So shout out to Coach Prime for starting the season 3-0 with a team that went 1-11 last year. Well, actually, this team didn't go 1-11. The old Buffaloes went 1-11. This new version actually is 3-0, and I heard something funny that I'm going to share with you guys. Kind of like the Fab Five and you know, the U from Miami. This is like Black America's team right now, so they're kind of carrying the torch for a whole bunch of people. So y'all got to keep winning, keep showing out, keep showing that swagger, keep showing that talent, and we are proud of what you guys are doing, because this just shows that just because it doesn't look like it used to doesn't mean it's not a good thing. So this has been T for the Mic Check Podcast. Until the next time, I'm out. Peace.